Hello again, beautiful people. It's a very bright day today. It's finally getting cold though, thankfully. Finally, I'm experiencing some of these northeastern winters, so that's helped a lot. Now I'm much more efficient on my floor-based setup. You've got your blankies here, you got your warmness, and that's optimal. And you know what else is optimal is exactly what you need to do in society, or what the law states that you have to do, at least in the United States. Again, this doesn't apply everywhere. Check your local jurisdictions and your local states for certain laws. But what exactly do you have to do to help society? How much of your protection are you legally obligated to give someone else? And I think that's an interesting topic to talk about, right? Because we want to know the exact minimum of how far we need to go. Do we need to actually piss on someone that's on fire? Do we need to help a child that's drowning? And the answer is, in the United States at least, almost exclusively, no, you don't need to do anything actually. And that's the beauty of it, at least one of the beauties of it. So, for instance, we can take a look at some legal cases like People versus Beasley or whatever, right? So this was a case that happened around the turn of the century, and the turn of the previous century, the 18 to 1900s. And basically, some guy had a mistress over at his house, and she took some morphine tablets and overdosed. And the court originally ruled that he had a moral obligation to take care of her and to report her having overdosed, and apparently it was like a suicide, or there's some sort of shenanigans about the court, so much so. But we'll look over that in essence and say basically what happened was he was initially convicted of manslaughter, and then on appeal they went back, because if it was two men in that same situation instead of a man and his mistress, he would not have been tried, and the moral standard broke down, because you're not required as a man to save another man's life if he's overdosed, even in your presence. In fact, in the United States, you're not required, period, to even call the police if you see someone getting mugged or beaten. You probably should if you have a cell phone on you, just in case, right? Because there are certain states, I think there's a couple, like 8 or 10 states, where you're required at least to call the police if you see a murder or a rape or something like that. You're required to at least do that much to help, but you're not ever going to be enforced to put yourself at risk, period. And so, at least legally speaking, you could, in fact, in the entire United States, watch a child drown in front of you and do nothing and be absolutely acceptable. So I would like, at least my viewers, to get to the point where they're in that kind of a mindset about society, and not just like watching a child drown. Now, you have to be careful, at least a little bit, if you do have like a flotation device nearby, and if you can save the kid's life without any risk to your own. There are moral laws that can kind of get you, but if you call and report that, hey, there's a child drowning in the street over there, that absolves you of actually having to do that. And me personally, I'm a phone the police, phone the 911 and tell them, oh yeah, there's a child drowning over there, go and do something about it. It's not my problem, and at least if you do that, you're pretty much safe all across the United States, if not completely free from any sort of prosecution, because you're not a diver, you're not a licensed EMT. There are certain people out there, and you'll know if you're in one of these positions, that can't actually just do that. For instance, if you're a registered EMT, if you're a lifeguard or something like that, if you're an off-duty police officer, you can't literally just watch a child drown and not do anything about it like an average citizen can. But I'm assuming the vast majority of my viewers are average citizens living in the United States, or depending upon where you live. I would look up your laws, be perfectly capable of understanding how many fingers you need to lift, and then lifting exactly as many as is required. Like, for instance, if I saw some diversity being brought upon some female, she's being raped, she's being beaten to death, whatever, I know that in my heart of hearts, I'm going to walk away a good, 10 minutes, and then I'll call the police. And that'll be my, assistance. Oh yeah, it happened somewhere over there. Not really my problem. You might want to go look into that at some point. And you have to drill it into your head that no one is entitled to your protection. Chivalry is dead. The entire mythos is gone. Don't defend this country. Don't defend these people that voted for this. Don't don't bother. You're not legally obligated in the United States to do any of it. So just drill it into your head. You are not responsible for this. You don't have to do it. There are some exceptions. Like, for instance, you are responsible for your own child, for your own family. You know, if you're like an employer, if you own a business, you are responsible for your employees. You can't watch your employee drown in the company pool, sadly. I know. As much as shocking as that is, given the way American businesses work, you actually can't do that. If you're a regular civilian, though, you can. And if you're an employee at the store, you, of course, can do that. You do not have to put yourself at risk, no matter the circumstances, period. If someone is bringing some diversity to some woman, she voted for that. You don't have to do anything, you know. And it depends on your state. Some states do have a duty to help, as long as it's not going to impact you negatively, if you can do it without any risk to yourself. If you see someone drowning in, like, you know, half a foot of water or whatever, I think it's like Hawaii and a few other places, I'm not sure, California or whatever. Look it up based on your state, right? Then you're going to have to pick their head out of the water and turn them at least right side up, right? And that would be the minimum amount you would have to help. And then you could call the police if you really wanted to, you know. And that could be your you know, good deed for the rest of your life. That could be how you could handle it. But for the vast majority of people, look up your local law and help only as much as you need to. No one is entitled to any effort, anything by you. Don't let the media, don't let anyone brainwash you otherwise. Look up your rights, be very, very acutely aware of them, and worst comes to worst, if you see something, just call the police, and you're pretty much good, except in 8 or 10 states, and unless you have a job that's associated with that. So definitely make sure you're, you know, fully aware of what you need to do legally as far as aiding the society, and then skirt it as best as humanly possible. You guys have a good day.